In 1950, Alan Turing proposed what was called the imitation game, also known as the Turing test. It was a measure of how well a machine could exhibit intelligence that was indistinguishable from that of a human. Today, AI technologies are coming ever closer to passing this test. And as the gap narrows, the real question is not whether computers are indistinguishable from humans, but rather, how do humans distinguish themselves from computers? The answer is simple, if not always easily achieved: by becoming more human. In this short course, we'll explore the value, purpose, and elements of social intelligence and teach you some clear-cut ways that you can become more human in the age of AI. So if you're ready to become more human in the age of AI, let's get started. For all the advances in artificial intelligence, AI is still not a very good human. Sure, AIs can think fast, but they lack perception that gives all that thinking real and valuable context. AI might talk a good game, emulating language they've learned from massive data stores, but they lack the true empathy that builds relationships and strengthens interpersonal bonds. By definition, artificial intelligence is, well, artificial, a combination of complex algorithms and massive, seemingly infinite amounts of data that deliver supremely rational results. In other words, AI lacks the social intelligence that give all that calculated genius real meaning in the workplace. A keenly developed social intelligence has always been your competitive advantage, and now it's even more important than ever. But just what is social intelligence? Social intelligence refers to a range of capabilities and behaviors that help you understand people and their motivation. You rely on your social intelligence for situational awareness and to build and maintain healthy relationships. Social intelligence is often discounted as soft skills or people skills, those personality traits that make you an amicable colleague. However, our abilities to communicate clearly, listen carefully, read a room, practice empathy, and persuade and negotiate are actually foundational skills. And these skills can be learned and nurtured to your competitive advantage. In fact, research suggests that people with a well-developed social intelligence are often viewed as more relatable, more competent, and more trusted. Indeed, the ability to read nuanced social dynamics, understand others' emotions, and create meaningful connections is critically important to building trust and credibility. The more technology moves to the center of our work, the more your social intelligence will become a valuable asset to your workplace and a vital companion to AI. Consider it. An AI might be able to create a fact-filled email in a fraction of the time it would take you to write one, but without your careful review to ensure that the context is correct and that key themes are properly nuanced, that AI-generated email could fall flat at best or spark worry and outrage at worst. It's your judgment combined with AI that makes these tools work best. AI needs a human partner to deliver the greatest value, and by developing your social intelligence, you become a valuable partner to the AI, to your organization, all while building a more resilient career. In fact, research suggests that people with well-developed social skills have larger and stronger networks, a key to effective career navigation. And they are more professionally successful, earning more money, and securing better promotions. In other words, developing your social intelligence is a smart investment. So let's keep going then to explore how you can hone your social intelligence into your most important professional and personal tool. Across this course, you'll learn about specific tactics you can use to build skills and hone your social intelligence. So let's start by building a solid foundation for that learning. Social intelligence begins with situational awareness. What's happening around you? What do you make of it? How might this environment affect people's behaviors and reactions? How does it affect your behaviors and actions? The capacity to make these kinds of observations and understand the whole context you are working within is something that AI cannot do. Situational awareness is that pause that elevates context and informs your response. That pause for observation is a critical building block for your social intelligence. It enables you to observe, assess, and formulate a response. It puts space between stimulus and response, and it's in that moment that you think and frame before you act. It's important to remember that social intelligence is both personal, it's intrinsic, and it's relational, it's external. You develop your social intelligence capabilities, you must tap into both and become more objective observer to your own emotions and reactions and observing the people and activities around you. That's a tall order. To observe your surroundings and other people while simultaneously observing yourself, especially when your instincts drive us to jump in and start fixing things. What skill, then, can we tap to help us become expert observers? Well, let's start with these. First, perception. Take a moment to take in your surroundings. What does your environment tell you about the current context? Is it a formal or an informal setting? Are people speaking loudly or softly, or maybe not at all? What does body language tell you about the tenor of the moment? Take a note of what you are seeing and let that shape your participation. Next, practice empathy. In its simplest form, empathy is the ability to understand another person's feelings, their challenges and concerns, and their joys. Empathy asks you to listen beyond the words, to really hear what's driving a colleague's concerns and actions. By taking the step to see the world through their eyes, you become a partner in problem solving for them and for your organization. When you understand where your colleagues are coming from, you create the opportunity to connect through shared experience. Consider your own experiences. Perhaps something in your past informs your understanding of the current situation. This personal reflection asks you to be vulnerable enough to drop your judgment and to share your learning. And it goes a long way to building trust with your colleagues and giving you the confidence to rely on your instincts in these complex situations. These abilities, understanding context, sensing the emotions and needs of those around you, and connecting through shared experiences, are uniquely human. And they are your great advantage, even as AI technologies change the world around you. Every professional and personal interaction helps you build your foundation of your social intelligence and increase your advantage. At first, you'll want to be very intentional. Ask, what am I seeing and sensing in others and in this environment? How am I feeling and reacting in this moment? How does this awareness inform my actions? By practicing these skills consciously, you will over time develop the ability to read the room, to pick up on subtle cues, to sense a mood and intuit unspoken concerns virtually automatically. And you will have laid the foundation and be ready for what comes next. We've talked about the importance of situational awareness, and now let's dive a bit deeper to hone your competitive advantage skills as the sensing, connecting, data collecting machine that you are. Humans are amazing sensors, and we're really good at making inferences about the information we absorb. Your senses, it turns out, provide vital context in the workplace, context that's rarely visible to AI and automation tools. The trick is to make it a conscious habit. Perhaps you're part of the Zoom generation, working remotely and connecting with coworkers over video conference, or maybe you work in an office setting. What have you learned about your colleagues' interests and habits simply by observing their surroundings? Do you notice their routines? Do their virtual backgrounds or their physical workspaces signal their aesthetic, their values, their dreams? By consciously building awareness of patterns, habits, and environments, you help others feel seen and understood. And you'll also have a powerful signal when those patterns change, helping you to adapt to new information. It's important, of course, not to get carried away with your assumptions. That is, what you think is happening. Instead, engage with others and let them tell you what you need to know. And here's where active listening is invaluable. Active listening goes beyond just hearing the words someone is saying to actively processing what is being said. Active listeners give their speaker their full attention. They feedback what they've heard without judgment or interpretation to be sure they really understand. Active listeners don't jump to conclusions or offer unsolicited advice. Instead, they strive to make the speaker feel fully heard. In our quick-paced world, active listening takes the time to really hear another perspective and helps you avoid misunderstandings and even conflict. Now, if you want to take a deep dive into the art of active listening, I recommend you take a listen to Nigel Cumberland's lesson on Become an Excellent and Active Listener, or check out Dorie Clark's course on improving your listening skills. Active listening has another important benefit. It helps us surface our biases and recognize how they affect our judgment and actions. Cognitively, bias serves an important function in facilitating our thinking and decision-making. Think about the texture on a corduroy fabric. If you run your hand along the bias, the fabric feels smooth. Not so much when you run your fingers in the opposite direction. Your mind works a little like that too. You can easily follow, recognize, and act on patterns rather than having to relearn every situation. Bias becomes problematic, though, when we rely on assumptions over facts. By surfacing and evaluating our biases, we operate with intention to better understand and connect with the world around us. By mastering these skills, sensing, active listening, and bias awareness, you're well on your way to developing your social intelligence. And I encourage you to explore other courses that will help you navigate conflict, master nonverbal communications, and further build your resilience and adaptability to better navigate a rapidly changing future of work. The very technology that is driving you to focus on your uniquely human skills can be used to help you develop them. Artificial intelligence, it turns out, is a great partner in building your social intelligence skills precisely because it's not social itself. You can't bore, offend, or annoy an AI. And AI certainly won't hold a grudge. And best of all, AI can provide valuable feedback and offer new perspectives that can help you hone your social intelligence. So go ahead, use AI to practice difficult conversations, write effective emails, and even get advice about workplace challenges. Well, you'll want to check workplace policies about using generative AI in your work. Tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini, Meta AI, and Perplexity are great ways to hone your social intelligence. So consider these examples. Maybe you have an uncomfortable conversation with a coworker. Let's say his hygiene isn't quite up to standards and your colleagues are beginning to complain. So call up Perplexity and role play both sides of that conversation. By practicing with a non-human, you can land on the right words to make a tough conversation a little easier. Or perhaps you need to send an email warning a team member who is consistently late and disruptive in staff meetings. Well, share a draft of the message with Claude to get feedback on the tone and content of the message, along with a proposed revision. Then leverage your social intelligence to edit the AI-generated email and make it your own. You might be struggling to understand another person's point of view. By simulating a conversation with you, AI tools might supplement your information in ways that inform your thinking or offer a perspective that helps you see your colleague with a new lens. And sometimes you just need to let off steam. Type, "I'm really angry and I just need to vent," into a chatbot prompt to get an enthusiastic, "Hey, I'm here to listen," along with validation for your feelings. You get emotional relief and maybe some AI-generated feedback, and your coworkers never need to hear a word. These are just a few examples, and I encourage you to think of recent situations where you might have benefited from a non-human, non-judgmental sounding board or collaborator. In times like these, you are practicing great social intelligence by turning to AI tools first. No doubt you came to this course believing that by building your social intelligence, you can become more resilient in a changing work structure and be more valuable in your workplace. We've discussed some of the foundational skills that boost your social intelligence: situational awareness, empathy, trust building, sensing and perception, active listening, bias recognition, and kindness. Just like any new learning, practice will help these skills become second nature. So let's build your social intelligence development plan. Grab your notebook and jot down the answers to these questions. Which of these skills is already a strength? Which of these skills would you like to work on? Which of these skills will be most useful in your work? Given the answer to these questions, zoom into one skill that you'd most like to develop first. Think about how you might work on this skill and write down one or two things that you can start doing right now to build that muscle. For example, to develop your sensing and perception skills, you'll need to become very intentional about observing your surroundings. So make it a practice to write down the things you notice during your workplace interactions. Then review your list and ask yourself how these observations shaped your interactions. To develop active listening skills, you may want to spend some time in conversation with an AI chatbot, practicing the skill of giving feedback without judgment. And at the beginning of each day, set the intention to meet people with kindness. And at the end of the day, check in with yourself, not just to measure how you did, but to sense how you feel when you practice a kindness mindset. As you work on these skills, keep in mind that they are building blocks. There's always so much more to learn, and LinkedIn Learning offers fabulous courses to help you build your social intelligence. And remember this, by becoming intentional about developing and exercising these social skills, you will be better able to navigate the complex and changing age of AI. High social intelligence has always been valuable, but now as AI transforms the workplace, your social intelligence is your competitive advantage. These well-developed skills help you build relationships, see things that others may miss, and overall help you better navigate your career. Technical skills will come and go, and of course you always need to think about the new skills that bring you advantage. But social intelligence is the constant foundation on which all other skills are built. You have these skills. Now tap into that capacity to adapt, grow, and thrive.